Well, everyone, the moment you've been waiting for is finally here. Many of you have been anticipating this for years, and now it has arrived. Over the past 10 or even 12 years, you've likely been watching this channel, exercising along with us, and some of you may still be giving it a try. Now, the complete range of exercises that wasn't available on YouTube or RooTube is finally here, offered separately. Step by step, you can learn how to restore your body right here. Take a look at yourself in the mirror. Do you wonder what kind of mess it is? Do you think this and that is not working? How can you tell what works and what doesn't? That's why we've created a full set of exercises, diagnostics, and recovery programs for your body and muscles, all available for you through the link in the description below. What's included? The program covers everything from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Every exercise is broken down step by step for each muscle group. How to train them, how to identify which muscles are working and which aren't, how to adjust your motor patterns, and how to relearn fundamental movements like walking, standing, lying down, and sitting. All of these exercises have been meticulously developed and refined over 3 years, and now they're ready for you to use to get off the couch and get moving. You'll find everything waiting for you at the link in the description. But here's a surprise for you. This course, which was once only accessible to a select few or those who could afford it, is now available at a drastically reduced price, equivalent to the cost of a loaf of bread and a glass of water. It's finally accessible to everyone. Now, there's no excuse for not exercising. You can't say, I don't have enough money to do these exercises. Everything you need is right here, ready for you to start. The most important thing is to overcome laziness. For those of you who are still unsure or doubting if this is right for you, whether you need it or not, here's another opportunity for just one more day. You can sign up for free and see if it's what you need, or try out over 100 exercises in a single day. Of course, you can't complete them all in one day. You'll need to follow the stages, starting with the very first exercise. And no, you can't just download it. There's likely some protection in place. For one day, you can access it all for free. If you love trying things out without a commitment, this is perfect for you. Give it a shot. And if you like it, you can subscribe. If not, you can unsubscribe with no strings attached. If you enjoy it, you can continue. And the cost is so affordable, it's practically a giveaway. So, what's included? Which exercises? Recovery exercises for nearly every muscle group, starting with diagnostics to determine exactly what you need to restore. Which muscles need and do not need to be stretched. What exercises are unnecessary for certain conditions? If you have specific pains or problems, you'll learn what to address and how. How to restore spinal mobility. The exercises are highly focused and require time to master. At first, they may seem challenging, especially for walking and changing motor patterns. However, every movement is broken down step by step. This ensures that even if you have no sense of where your right hand or left foot is, you can gradually master smoother movements. Well, friends, you know what to do now. Follow the link in the description. The exercises are waiting for you. But remember, it's not enough to just buy, open, or watch them. You need to do them. The results will surprise you and won't take long to show. The course also includes self-massage techniques for certain muscles. In short, any questions you have will be answered there. So, see you there, dear friends. Click the link in the description and let's continue. Good evening, dear friends. Are you familiar with the situation where you've been sitting for a long time, maybe studying something on your phone, like the latest breakthroughs in quantum mechanics or catching up on the news, and Your neck starts to feel tired. Tension builds up in the back, and you feel the urge to stretch. The first thing that comes to mind is to stretch your neck this way or that way to relieve the tension. For a moment, it seems to help, but soon the tension returns, even worse than before. Why does this happen? The tension you feel is your body signaling discomfort. But what's happening inside your body at that moment? Inside, friends, it's not as simple. It's actually quite concerning. Our spine has natural curves designed to distribute load evenly. There is lumbar lordosis and cervical lordosis. These are forward curves of the spine. There is also thoracic kyphosis, a backward curve. These spinal curves help distribute the load evenly across the joints and ensure that the angles of the joints, as you can see here, are properly aligned and evenly loaded. When we move, the axis of each joint allows for rotations and bends. As you can see, everything is positioned at specific angles. The intervertebral discs, located between our vertebrae, also benefit from this even distribution of load. Thanks to these curves, the entire spine functions efficiently. But there are situations when these natural spinal curves begin to change. For example, cervical lordosis, the forward curve of the neck, may start to straighten out, making the neck appear rigid. In some cases, lordosis may even reverse and turn into kyphosis. This causes the neck to lean unnaturally forward. The same thing can happen to the lower back. Lumbar lordosis, the curve in the lower spine, can also begin to flatten. Meanwhile, thoracic kyphosis, the natural backward curve in the upper spine, may intensify. A common change we see in the spine is cervical lordosis transitioning into kyphosis while thoracic kyphosis becomes more pronounced. Why does this happen, and how does it develop? The main issue is the amount of time we spend sitting, often hunched over, looking down and using our hands. In the past, this might have involved writing, eating, reading newspapers, or typing on typewriters. Today, it's more about staring at phones, scrolling through news, or watching videos. In fact, someone right now might be watching this video on their phone. And this posture becomes habitual. Over time, the muscles responsible for stabilizing the neck grow fatigued from maintaining this position, causing them to relax. But there's another structure in the neck you may not have heard of. This structure is called the nuchal ligament. What do you think supports the alignment of the vertebrae? The muscles? No, that's not correct. Muscles are responsible for movement, not structure. When you turn your head, your muscles tense and move it. When you tilt your head or straighten it, muscles are at work. Long and short neck flexors, the trapezius muscle, and so on. But what holds the spine in its proper shape? That's the job of the ligamentous apparatus, the ligaments located between the joints and vertebrae. Ligaments maintain the relative position of the bones, just as they do in any other joint. Ligaments are designed to prevent dislocation. If stretched suddenly, they can tear. But if stretched gradually over time, they can become elongated, leading to what we call a nuchal ligament. The nuchal ligament runs from the external occipital protuberance, the bump at the base of the skull, to the spinous process of the 7th cervical vertebra. It's a connective tissue structure. This is where this nuchal ligament is located. Here it is. It is this ligament that helps maintain the natural curve of the neck. In animals, this ligament is much more developed. Compared to humans, for example, a horse or a cow has a much thicker and stronger nuchal ligament. In animals, it is also divided into two parts. The first part is called the cord-like section of the nuchal ligament. The term nuchal comes from Old Russian, where V means neck. Even back then, anatomy was studied. The second part of the nuchal ligament in animals attaches to the vertebrae. How many cervical vertebrae do you think a horse has? And what about a giraffe with its long neck? They both have 7 cervical vertebrae. We won't draw all 7. It would take too long. But animals have bony protrusions, and the second part of the nuchal ligament attaches to them. In horses, it also starts at the occipital bone, just like in humans. But there are some differences. For example, in horses, the ligament protrudes from the occipital bone, but in dogs, it starts lower down. This upper section is absent. Why is that? It's a bit of a mystery. The nuchal ligament in horses is incredibly strong and durable. It is tough as steel. It holds the vertebrae together and stabilizes them. While in humans, the ligament is comparatively thin and weak. When we remain in a prolonged forward head posture, this ligament begins to stretch. As the neck muscles fatigue, the load shifts entirely to the ligament. The muscles involved here include the long neck flexors, which consist of several muscles, the rectus capitis, the longus colli, and the longus capitis muscles. These collectively form the group of long neck flexors. Horses have a similar arrangement of muscles. During extended periods in this posture, the neck muscles tire, and the ligament takes on the strain. If the head remains in this position, the ligament slowly stretches further and further. When the feeling of tension arises, nerves within the ligament send signals to the brain, creating a sensation that makes you want to stretch even more. But when a person stretches further, they inadvertently elongate the ligament. Over time, this gradual stretching makes the ligament longer and alters the natural curve of the spine. First, the cervical lordosis will straighten, and in severe cases, it may even reverse into kyphosis. Even the strong nuchal ligament in horses can suffer damage. Here's something interesting. Did you know this? If any of you own a horse, or even a donkey, be careful. A horse's ligament can be injured during movement, especially if the head is held in certain positions. For instance, if the axis of the head is misaligned like this, if the horse's head is in a position like this, lowered like this, it can become dangerous. When the head drops even further, the ligament is at risk of stretching or tearing. Specifically when the horse tucks its head in this position, similar to how you might stretch your neck downward, it places undue stress on the ligament. If the horse is in this position, the ligament can either stretch excessively or tear. Afterward, the horse may experience injuries. Its head may hurt, and it could lose balance. Treatment would be required, but you might be doing this to yourself on purpose. For a horse, this happens accidentally, perhaps due to trauma. Horses, after all, don't spend much time on their phones, but you might be overdoing it with unnecessary stretching. So, what can we do, friends? How to deal with it? How can we avoid stretching this ligament while also relieving the tension in the neck? The problem is that we often have to remain in this downward head position for extended periods. This leads to constant microtrauma in the area, especially this top area of the ligament. Over time, this can cause chronic issues, such as slight swelling in the ligament. This chronic irritation disrupts the proper function of the surrounding muscles. So, how do we fix it? Look here, friends. First, you need to locate this ligament. It begins at the bump on the back of your head, the external occipital protuberance. To find it, trace down the central part of the occipital bone at the back of your head. You'll feel a bump there. For some, it's more prominent. For others, it's less noticeable. But everyone has it. This is where the nuchal ligament starts. It extends all the way to the bony process of the seventh cervical vertebra. Now, here's what you need to do. Locate that bump, then move slightly downward and to the right. Then move slightly downward and to the left. On both sides, you'll feel two muscle ridges. What are these ridges on the right and on the left? They are the trapezius muscles, and beneath them are the neck muscles, including parts of the long neck flexor above the trapezius muscles. Between these muscles is where the ligament is located. Now, place your fingers in the gap between these muscles. Your task is to gently shift the tissues, first to one side, then to the other. Like this. Right, left, right, left. You've found the area, and now you're moving the tissues right and left, side to side. Start by moving the skin gently, right and left. Place your fingers on either side and move back and forth side to side 10 times. Next, move up and down. Up, down, up, down. Try to gently mobilize the skin and underlying tissues, as this area often becomes stiff and, as a rule, loses its natural mobility. The lower part, on the other hand, often becomes too mobile and overstretched. Our goal is to restore mobility to the upper part of the nuchal ligament so it can move and slide more freely. This technique can be especially helpful for those who suffer from frequent headaches. Working on this area can significantly alleviate discomfort if done correctly. Move the tissues upward, then downward. Up, down, up, down. Restore mobility by alternating right and left movements. Now, let's move on to the next step. Locate the muscle ridge along the inner edge. For example, on the right side, place your fingers along this edge. Gently push the entire muscle to the right, away from the center, away from the nuchal ligament. Move it slightly to the side. Here. Repeat the motion. I'm demonstrating this way to make it easier for you to understand, but it is more convenient this way. Use your fingers to lift and separate the muscle ridge on one side, then do the same on the other. The goal is to gently push the muscle away from the central ligament. By doing this, you restore the elasticity and mobility of the tissues surrounding the ligament. Why is this beneficial? This improves blood flow, not just in the neck muscles, but also to the brain. The vertebral artery passes through this area, and when there's swelling or tightness, space becomes limited. Short neck flexors tend to contract excessively, reducing flexibility in the first cervical vertebra, which is already close to the occipital bone. Additionally, the occipital nerve passes through this area, which can further increase compression. Poor mobility in this region leads to stagnation, lymphatic buildup, swelling, and restricted blood flow. By restoring mobility, you improve blood circulation and reduce tension, benefiting both the brain and overall well-being. After just a few simple actions like these, you might notice clearer thoughts and improved mental clarity. Let's review the process step by step. First, locate the bump on the back of your head. Place your fingers on the protrusion and move the tissues up and down, starting from this point. Work your way down to the second cervical vertebra, gently mobilizing the entire area. Repeat the same motion to the right and left, moving the tissues aside. Address the trapezius muscles next to the nuchal ligament. Friends, as you may already notice, your vision feels sharper and the blood flow to your brain has improved. Let's give a round of thanks to the horse that inspired today's discussion and our friend who helped us understand the nuchal ligament better. Well, friends, let us know. How are you doing? How is everything in your life? See you on the next broadcast.